All right. Little under an hour from now, Evan Macy, PhillyVoice.com will join us. It's What Are the Odds? Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler, presented by Cure Auto Insurance. We're live up here on the stream for a little bit as well. And I mentioned just the big story now is, well, Jeffrey Lurie is meddling and Jeffrey Lurie is doing this. That's not anything new. There is absolutely nothing new about what Jeffrey Lurie is doing allegedly in this report. In fact, the only thing that this report has truly done is remove and really absolve a lot of blame on Howie Roseman and put it squarely on the one individual who can't lose his job. You think that's by coincidence? You honestly think that this is a coincidence that before Monday Night Football, in which Jeffrey Lurie is hosting Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, and the Seattle Seahawks, amidst a week in which, once again, the national media pounding on his football team, demanding a quarterback change, if it's Deion Sanders or anybody else talking about this league for a living, and you have questions about your guy, not your guy meaning Carson Wentz, the guy that you inked to this ridiculous deal, but your guy and Howie Roseman, who's been here through the thick and the thin, through all the good and all the bad, no matter how much bad he's contributed to. This is an absolving right now. Instead of an indictment, it's absolving. And, it takes Doug Peterson off the hook as well. It looks now like Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman were just following orders. And it came from the top. And you know what? You as a fan, you get upset all you want, but you ain't changing anything at the top. You're not changing ownership. Trust me, I've tried. I've tried radio shows. I've tried columns. I've tried down in Nashville when I was there for 2 years. We had marches. We had all this. It doesn't work. If somebody has a football team, if somebody owns a sports team and they don't want to sell, guess what? They ain't selling. The only way that it changes if you're Donald Sterling, you're saying something horrific or even worse. But in the case of Jeffrey Lurie, nothing's changing, nothing's happening. This came out as what looked to be a bulletproof piece of a distraction. Now, I'm not blaming the reporter. I'm just saying the information looks like, yeah, if you've been following along, what's new here? Jeffrey Lurie likes to meddle in the draft. Jeffrey Lurie likes to meddle with his team. Jeffrey Lurie likes to meddle in personnel. Howie Roseman likes to meddle in personnel. Howie Roseman likes to meddle with the 53. Howie Roseman likes to meddle with play calling. We knew all this. This isn't new. This is the MO of these guys. This is how they act. This is how they operate. This is how they interact on a yearly basis. And if you notice, this is why it's no coincidence this comes out before the game today. The one person who truly can't be moved or budged by any of this, who cares? Jeffrey Lurie brought this team and brought this city a Super Bowl. All of a sudden, he has that to fall back on. Look, we're 3 years removed from bringing you a Super Bowl. You can afford me the benefit. Or he doesn't even have to listen. Jeffrey Lurie, what this report is the equivalent of being a verified account with 1 million followers, putting something out that would be controversial and just, boop, muting the conversation. I don't need to listen. Who cares if I lose 1,000? Who cares if I lose 50,000 people? I've got so many people here. I've got so much here. And Jeffrey Lurie doesn't look at that as far as losing fans. He knows people ain't going anywhere. If there is one team in the country that no matter how badly their fans would be treated, they wouldn't go anywhere, without a doubt, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. First and foremost, even more so than the Flyers, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie knows he has us by the you-know-what. And this report comes out and says, hey, it puts pressure on Carson Wentz, which we already knew was there. Drafting Jalen Hurts was the pressure on Carson Wentz. Putting him out there, taking Carson Wentz away from the quarterback position, that put pressure on Carson Wentz. But this comes out tonight so that Jeffrey Lurie can say, all right, Doug built an excuse. Howie Roseman built an excuse. You guys lose this game, they're going to blame me. But you know what? Nobody's firing me. That's the difference. Nobody is removing me from office. I'm not getting impeached as owner. There's no Congress that has to vote on this. There's no coup d'etat that's going to happen where Howie Roseman is going to rise to the ranks of owner. This isn't a video game. Jeffrey Lurie ain't going anywhere, and he's been reinforced by winning that Super Bowl. This whole thing is a distraction. This whole thing is a smokescreen. It doesn't even matter at this point who it came from, but think about it. It's either coming from Doug Peterson and his camp, in which they know, hey, I got to get out of this thing, man. I'm about to lose my job. I'm about to be blamed for all this. That's not me, and I ain't going out like that. Howie Roseman, either willingly or not willingly from Jeffrey Lurie, it doesn't matter because Roseman's not losing his job. It either completely absolves him with the blessing of Jeffrey Lurie, or, okay, he went out and he dimed out Jeffrey Lurie for this thing. Who cares? Because ultimately Lurie's going to shelve all the blame, and we're back to square one, which is it doesn't matter. Or the last way in which it could come out, Jeffrey Lurie himself made sure that this got out. Maybe not directly. I don't think that Adam Kaplan spoke directly to Jeffrey Lurie, but that's the point, which is the organization wants you to know out there that if you want to blame anybody, blame Jeffrey Lurie. I mean, this is ripped right out of an Andy Reid playbook. This is right out of an Andy Reid playbook. I got to put my guys in a better position. I'm trying to put my guys in a better position. Don't blame Howie Roseman. Don't blame Doug Peterson. Hey, man, don't blame the defense. Don't blame Donovan McNabb. It's on me. It's on me. This is a preemptive move in order to mitigate a lot of blame and a lot of frustration that fans are going to feel starting tomorrow, or maybe even tonight at the half. And the difference is that he's not going to get booed at the half, down 42-0 in the snow. I was at that game, mind you. I will never forget that game. Purposely stayed at the half just so we can let him have it. Poor, I mean, it was on, of all, Reggie White night. I mean, there was a lot of things happening, a lot of emotion as an Eagles fan. And you get that every single year. You get that every single week. I cannot jump off I can't be the next person that jumps off the bridge. Oh my God, there's a crazy report that came out. You were looking at this? Jeffrey Lurie's involved. Yeah, of course he's involved. He's been involved forever. That hasn't changed. What exactly has changed there? This is a Jeffrey Lurie run operation, and that will never change until Jeffrey Lurie sells the team. And that's why I go back to the FPT Center. Eagles have been dysfunctional for a decade, plus the common denominator has been promoted every step of the way. Well, who do you think is promoting him? You think it's right now coincidence that Howie Roseman has been blamed multiple times over? And all of a sudden, Jeffrey Lurie is stepping out hours before kickoff for a season that has gone completely off the rails, that has been completely derailed. And all of a sudden, this is something new and some big revelation? No, it just continues to validate what we already know, which is this team and the power structure of this team doesn't make much sense. And now you want me to take the Eagles tonight. With all of that, you want me to take the Eagles tonight as only 6-point dogs, right? I mean, that's another thing that kind of makes you scratch your head. Why would that be so tight? Why? Because it's home, because the Eagles have won every game in prime time. Okay. Look, there's sharp money that's pouring in. It's moved a little bit now. 72% of the money, 65% of the bets, that's public money on Seattle. Is that too much? 65% of the bets is not high enough of a ratio for me to be scared away. It's really not. But what I would say is, looking at sharp money that's moved this, is that because they truly believe? Nobody's going to bet the Seahawks right now at only 6.5. You would want to move that, right? You would want to expand that. This thing opened up 3. It must have been there for like a blink of the eye, because I saw 5.5 right away. And then you clearly look at that and say, well, let's get some sharp action. That sharp action was earlier to move it from 3.5, 4, immediately to 5, 5.5, now to 6, 6.5, depending on the book. That sharp money was moving it. You figure, hey, if you can get it to 7 If you can make, then you never know. Backdoor touchdown, you never know. Look, the Bucs were dead to rights at one point in the first half, and they came back with a backdoor 3.5 cover. Now, if you got in at the opening of the week, last Sunday night, like I did, you had the Chiefs at -2.5, and you were good. But 7 points, it's still 7 points. Is that enough to scare you away right now? 5.5 even for Seattle. I'm trying to walk this through my head. Where is the football element of how the Eagles are going to beat Seattle? Because everything piled up right now is against the Seattle Seahawks. Everything. Everything piled up right now is anti what Seattle, I would think, Seattle losing. Like what Seattle would have to do to lose this game tonight. You've got the numbers, 13-0 since last 25 years, right? Since 96, where a Pacific time zone has gone to the Eastern time zone and covered against the spread, covered that spread, 13-0 ATS since 96. So 13 out of in 25 years, that's a pretty big number that they haven't lost. You've got 6-0. That's the last 6 times Seattle has been here against the spread or straight up. They've won the game. The only thing you could throw to mitigate that would be, well, the Eagles have won games primetime this year. Okay, that doesn't really do a lot. But then all the things we just talked about for the last 52 minutes. Where are the Eagles super focused? Hey, I'll give you this. DeMarcus Lawrence and the Dallas Cowboys recognized something needed to change before they went into that game with Pittsburgh. And you know what? They gave Pittsburgh everything they could. It was a hell of an effort. There's no moral victories in the NFL. I get that. But you could see that the team responded to just being at the baseline, like the bottom level of frustration, at the bottom level of thinking it can't get any worse. Our butts are to the floor. Forget backs to the wall. Our butts are on the floor right now. And they responded. And I don't see how the Eagles have even recognized that. This report tonight doesn't do anything to comfort me that the Eagles are going to respond to controversy. They've been surrounded by controversy all year, and the play has not got any better. You've got mitigation of blame. You've got meddling of hands from owner to GM. A completely warped power struggle here. And even structure. How does that lend to you thinking out there that the Philadelphia Eagles got this? Oh, no, don't worry. The Philadelphia Eagles right now, they understand what's at stake. Look, Seahawks have first place in their sights. Seattle understands the difference of riding in with a wild card versus winning that division. And that division is winnable since Arizona decided to expose themselves a little earlier. So, yeah. Although that's not anything to look ahead. Now, I guess if you are truly desperate, you could look at this game tonight and say, well, Seahawks are going to come in here thinking they can do whatever they want. The Seahawks are going to come in and they're going to look at this game thinking we don't really even need to show up, that we can get around giving maximum effort. Really? I don't think so. I don't think that Seattle looks at this Eagles team and thinks we don't need to give max effort. I don't think that Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, that defense has improved as well. All right, quick break. Now, all of a sudden, Twitter's back. So we can get to a little question that I threw out regarding this Tyson Jones thing. A lot of things happened over the weekend, but more importantly, tonight, there's a big football game. A couple of odds to look at. Also, we've gone from Tuesday night to Wednesday night football or Wednesday afternoon football. What does that mean for next week? A lot of things happening. The NFL schedule is up in chaos right now. That's where there's more chaos. There's no chaos in the Eagles organization that's new. It's been the same old nonsense. Believe what you can or believe what you will at your own risk, at your own peril. What are the odds? Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler, presented by Cure Auto